These are the standard pound sterling banknotes of the United Kingdom. You might think that this, the £50 note, is the largest in the UK, but in reality, there's something much bigger. Its name is Titan. It's worth £100 million and is stored in a top security vault nestled under the Bank of England. But why does it exist, and what is it used for? To find out why, first we need to go back to the 1800s. At this time, private banks up and down the UK would print their own banknotes, fit with their own personality and story. In theory, these private banks would back up each note with its equivalent in a real-world asset, usually gold. But unfortunately in practice, this wasn't always adhered to, and when the country dealt with financial issues, banks would collapse. The notes printed by these banks were often overissued, with nothing to actually back them up. Something had to be done. And so, in 1844, Robert Peel's government passed the Bank Charter Act, making it next to impossible for private banks to print their own money. The Bank of England would now be the sole manufacturer of any banknotes issued across the UK. Despite both being part of the UK, England and Scotland maintained distinct financial systems. Whilst England struggled with issues created by poorly regulated private banks, Scotland's well-regulated system functioned effectively, and Scots weren't happy to be penalised for issues originating south of the border. Bring in Walter Scott, the Scottish poet and writer who's commonly given the title of creator of the modern historical novel. Walter, as his namesake suggests, was particularly patriotic for his country and took this personally. He adopted the name of one of his characters, Malachi Malagrover, and from his home in Melrose, Scotland, wrote a series of letters to the Edinburgh Weekly Journal, kickstarting a campaign for Scotland banks to keep the right to print their own unique notes. The government back in London took note, and it worked, with Scott himself put on the Scottish banknotes for his work in keeping them in existence. Scotland and Northern Ireland were still able to print their own notes, but the law required that for every note printed, the equivalent in Bank of England notes was also to be produced. This was designed to maintain public confidence, ensuring that overissuing would not occur, with the value of locally issued notes fully supported by the Bank of England reserves. Unfortunately, this created a logistical nightmare. Billions of pounds of Bank of England notes were to be printed and kept in the Bank of England vaults, something that required a huge amount of space. Instead, the solution was to create the Titan and Giant banknotes, worth £100 million and £1 million respectively. In terms of physical space, one Titan banknote is the equivalent to 2 million £50 notes, or 2 times the height of the Statue of Liberty if stacked. The creation of the Titan and Giant banknotes solved the issue of needing enough space to back up each of the Scottish and Northern Irish notes, but they are treated very differently to other British banknotes. Whilst the 5, 10, 20 and £50 notes are printed by the company De La Rue in Loughton, just north of London, Titan and Giants are printed internally in the Bank of England itself, leading to this rather archaic design. They are larger than other notes, with Titans coming in at roughly the size of an A4 piece of paper. They must be signed by the chief cashier before they hold any value, and are kept in high security in the Bank of England vaults, only ever to be seen by a select few. So next time you come across a Scottish or Northern Irish banknote, fit with its own colours, design and character, remember, deep beneath the streets of London, in one of the most secure vaults on earth, a handful of pieces of paper quietly keep them alive.